Amazing. There we go. Welcome, everyone. Hello, all. Fantastic. All right. Everyone is joining us. We've got lots of people popping in right now. Absolutely. This is fantastic. I am so excited today. We have some amazing plans, and it's so great to see you all. There's lots of familiar faces here. There's lots of unfamiliar faces, which is really exciting as well. Jillian and Ari and I have just been chatting in sort of the back room, getting prepared as well, and we have so much planned for today. So we are going to dive straight in and firstly ask if you can all share where you are in the world, right? Where you are in the world. Pop that in the chat and also what you do creatively. Now you will notice that you are on mute today. We're just going to keep everyone on mute apart from the three of us, so that we can really run you through this workshop. But we do love it if you can have video on if possible. This is a great way for us to interact with you. Look, if you're eating lunch or something, totally fine, all good. Or you're just listening in today, of course, that's fine as well. But where possible, we love to be able to see your lovely faces as well. Awesome being able to see where everyone is already popping all the things in the chat. Oh, I love it. So good.
Oh,
So San Francisco, yeah, amazing. San Francisco, Utah, Clarksville, Tennessee, nice. Dallas, here we go. Hey, Samir in Glasgow, Scotland, amazing. Texas, Detroit, Sarasota. Hi, hey, Wendy, awesome. Carolyn, awesome, good to see you. LA, nice. Rochester, Annapolis. Wow, this is amazing. I always love seeing like where everyone comes from. Right now, those of you that don't know me, you're probably catching the accent and you're like, where is that accent from? And people do try and guess. Some people get it right, some people get it wrong. I'm from New Zealand. I spend most of my time based in the States, usually over on the East Coast. Right now, I'm actually visiting New Zealand for a couple of months. So it's kind of strange because it's actually Friday morning for me. Very strange for all, I'm sure. But I'm sort of kind of in the future here, which is kind of funny. So I am in New Zealand at the moment, but normally based in Virginia. Great to have everyone here. Jillian, do you want to share where you are? Just give a bit of context.
yeah, I am in Connecticut. So, East Coaster.
Woof, amazing. And then Ari, do you want to share where you are?
Yeah, I'm in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is like 45 minutes north of Nashville for reference.
Amazing. I love that. So good. And we're in New Zealand. The question has popped up. I'm actually in Golden Bay, New Zealand, which is the north of the South Island, kind of just across the water from Wellington, which is the capital. So I'm going to here for about 3 weeks. It's a very beautiful part of the world. And it's kind of odd because it is middle of summer in New Zealand right now. So I'm sorry to say that for everyone who's in the depths of winter right now, as well. So I've had to kind of multiple seasons in the last couple of months. So here we go. Awesome. Okay, we have lots to cover. So I do really want to kick into things. So we're going to hand over to Ari. Ari's going to do an intro and then Jillian will, and then we'll get an intro from me and we'll get into it. So Ari, over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ari. I'm an illustrator and letterer based in Tennessee in Clarksville. And right now my focus is murals, but I love doing animation and digital illustration. I love designing t-shirts. I just love to draw. So that's what I want to do.
Amazing. I
Nice.
love that. Over to you, Jillian.
I love that, Aria. That's relatable. I'm Jillian. I am Jag Inc. on the internet. I'm an illustrator and muralist based in Connecticut. I've been running my own creative business full time for, I guess, about 5 years now. And I create work for greeting cards, book covers, marketing things, and have painted murals for lots of different clients from like public art to small businesses, restaurants, dance studios, and residential areas. So that's me. Super excited to introduce Logan to all of you today. Logan is my business coach and also Ari's business coach. He's had his own creative business for 11 years and has since worked with hundreds of graphic designers, muralists, illustrators, all sorts of visual creatives to help them grow their own businesses, leave their day jobs, and if that's the plan, and to build their businesses of their dreams. So in the time that I worked with Logan, I started to really take my own creative business seriously, and I've been able to pivot into new industries, grown my own confidence as a business owner and as like a human. And I've landed commissions that I had been dreaming about for years. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Logan.
Amazing. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Ari. Honestly, just excited to be here today to share expertise and really dive into the subject of murals. So, as Jillian shared, I'm a business coach. I help visual creatives grow. The people we tend to work with are mostly based in the US and Canada, and they are all in the visual creative space, as Jillian shared. So, it's very much graphic designers, illustrators, muralists, people in that real visual creative space. And we do actually work with people at multiple stages. So we work with people who are very early stage, just starting out, trying to get things going. We also work with people who are like, hey, I've been doing this for a while, but I really want to, turn it into a full-time income or scale things up. We also occasionally work with people who are like, I've been doing this for decades, sometimes 10, 20 years, even longer, who are like, hey, I want to get more sustainability. Maybe I want to, expand what I do into new areas as well. So it's basically the realm of the work that I do. We have an awesome workshop planned for today, all around breaking into murals, right? And this is a really interesting subject. It comes up a lot because, when people are trying to figure out how to either grow their business, right? So they're an existing designer, creator, illustrator, and you're like, I really want to take my business to the next level, or they're trying to figure out how to get started. Murals is actually a really awesome area of opportunity. So that's something we're going to be diving right into for today. Now, as part of today's webinar, as part of today's workshop, we are going to be giving away 3 freebie coaching calls with myself, as well as a whole bunch of coaching calls with Paul Corgan from my team here. Paul Corgan is the creative business specialist. He's just giving us a wave there as well. And what this means is that this is an opportunity to connect with us and for us to share some tips and ideas. They are free giveaway calls. We're keeping it really simple. If you do want one of these, we just want you to fill in this form right here. So I've just popped that in the chat. There'll be people watching the recording as well. We'll make sure that link is in the recording too. But please click that right now if you're here live. It's super simple. We keep this one really simple. We will then go through and pick people to get on those freebie calls with myself as well as with Paul within that. So good chances you'll be able to connect with us no matter what stage you're in. We would love to connect with you, hear where you're at, share some tips and ideas as well. So do make sure you're filling that in. Honestly, I would love everyone who's here to fill that in. We always love being able to connect with more people and share some tips and ideas and really take something like this workshop where we've shared a bunch of things, but let's share more in a more personalized way as well. So do get that filled in. Now, breaking into murals workshop. As I said, this workshop is something that we wanted to really help people to figure out next steps in murals, right? So if you are already a muralist, there's going to be lots of tips and strategies here for you. If you are considering murals as an art form because you've got an existing business or you're wanting to start out, great, this workshop's for you as well. So, murals are really intriguing as an art form because they are a way to scale up your creativity. Right. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, well, if you are a designer, you're a creator, you're an artist, you've actually got this way to take your work and actually put it in a much bigger scale and also have it in a very versatile art form that is in a lot of demand. Right. Murals is very much a growing industry right now. We're seeing lots of opportunities in the space. We work with quite a few different people who do murals, both who kind of do it as part of other offerings, as well as people who pretty much focus fully just on murals as well. There's also a lot of versatility within murals, right? In terms of what a mural is, from like literally having a huge piece of art on a big building through to smaller designs, smaller murals in windows. There's lots of different ways people can do more transportable murals as well within that too. So it doesn't always mean you're going to have to get up on a scaffold, but it could mean you are going to get up on a scaffold or if there's a lift on the side of a building. So there's just so many different opportunities within this. One of the other things I really love about the offering the art form of murals is that you can actually charge really good amounts for this. Right now, if you want to have a scalable, sustainable, long-term business, if you want to leave your day job or you want to bring in sustainable income, then you are going to have to charge good amount for what you do, right? If you are doing murals, you do not have to do too many of them each month to make this work, right? You can be charging, yes, $1,000, sure, absolutely. But you can also be charging $3,000, $5,000, even $10,000. We've actually worked with clients who have had projects for $20,000. We recently had a client who got a project for for six figures, as in over 100,000. Yes, it was more than one mural. I will say it was a whole big project, but there is a lot of opportunities in this space. So therefore, if you are wanting to be full time and you want to be, that business owner who's bringing in at least, that six figure mark and get over at that 100K per year, well, suddenly you don't need to be doing too much every single month. Yes, you're going to be busy with big projects, but you could have two, three, four projects within a month and be making, that sort of money, which is really, really powerful as well. Of course, is that where you start out? No. And that's obviously this thing we want to talk about today because it can be quite overwhelming thinking, well, how do I go from where I am now to being on a scissor lift or a scaffold on the side of a building? Well, there's lots of in between opportunities and there's lots of ways to work out to that. So we're really going to dive into that. So the first thing we're going to dive into, and we're going to be getting some of Jillian and Ari's thoughts and experiences along the way. The first thing we're going to dive into is really about how to start small whilst dreaming big. Yay, I would love to be doing these bigger projects and murals. That sounds amazing, but like, how do I even get started? So, there's a lot of possibilities, as I said, but getting started is scary. Now, the really good thing about this is that there is lots you can do to get moving, to get some experience, to get started. First thing I will say is you probably don't need as much experience as you think to get paid projects, right? This is a really important thing. People often go and they say to us, they're like, oh, I'd love to get into something like murals, but, it's going to take me a year, 2 years to like figure this out, right? To get the experience. Like we've literally had clients we've worked with who have gone from like, hey, they already have a creative background skills and they're like, I would kind of be curious about murals. They've had paid projects within 2 to 3 months, right? That is very doable, right? Paid projects where they're getting paid for their work within 2 to 3 months. So there is great ways to get into this, even if you haven't done things before, because you're often using your foundation of creativity from other art forms and translating into this. So a few different tips in terms of how you can start small and get started. One of them I really love is what we call personal projects, right? So personal projects are effectively where you are creating using your skills, using your expertise, but you're basically doing it for yourself. Now, this could be painting a wall at your house. Right? If you don't own your house, can you ask if your landlord would mind you doing that? Right? Or is it a friend's place? Is it a family member's? Right? A small personal project. We've even had people who've actually just found, actually, you know what? I'm going to get literally some panels and I'm going to paint on them. Right? So it's not like it's a wall. It's actually something that you're just getting some big pieces of wood and using that as a personal project. Right? That is an amazing thing that you can do to get a bit of experience and start figuring things out, right? A big panel of wood can be a way to actually do your first mural, right? And doesn't even need to be a big panel of wood. It can be small ones, right? We've got to remember that murals are not always just these huge things on the sides of buildings. Murals can actually be quite small. We've seen murals as small as, 3, 4 feet by feet, right? So quite small. That's technically a mural as well. So, that is a good way to get some experience. The other thing you can do is start to look for local opportunities. And we'll kind of talk a bit more about, the marketing side and how to actually get these opportunities. But, could you be doing something at a local community center, a local school? It could be paid, it could be unpaid. Obviously, we want you to get paid work, but this is something that you could potentially lean into. And starting small. As I said, it could just be a really small mural because you want to get something in your portfolio and you want to gain some actual hands-on experience of translating your artwork into the physical realm, right? It's going to be figuring out as you go, right? And I know both Jillian and Ari have experienced this as well, the figuring out part and okay, well, I'm going to give this a go and you will get more experience as you go too. So would love to hear a couple of thoughts from Jillian and Ari with this. So we'll just start off with you there, Jillian. So your thoughts and experiences around kind of starting small.
hmm yeah, I definitely started small, as I think most of us have. My first mural opportunity was a public like art call, a local one. So I think I just like saw on the news that they were asking for like proposals for concrete barriers, and this was like 2020 when restaurants were coming back to do like outdoor seating. So I just applied to that, and that was my first mural. So it was an outdoor like little concrete barrier. So definitely small, like 3 feet by like 7 feet or something. So yeah, keeping an eye out for local opportunities like that for me, like that was key. I put that on Instagram, and then from there, people saw that I could do that because I think people really need to see that that application that like you are painting murals or something like outdoors or on a wall, to then realize that, oh, you could do this on my wall too. So once I posted that on Instagram, things kind of just like took off for me. So yeah, those public art opportunities are really important.
I love that. And, it's so good to like to see and hear the real opportunities, right? I'm here to share expertise in this workshop, but like actually hearing from Jillian and soon Ari, like we get the real side of it as well. People out there doing this too, which is fantastic. Ari, would love to hear some of your sort of thoughts and experiences around, that piece of it.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I wrote a note about. I had an old IKEA cabinet that was falling apart and it had like old particle board in the back of it that I kept trying to nail back. And so I took it out and it's actually over here, but I'm not going to show you because it's a mess over there. But I painted on it, and that's something that I kept painting and repainting just to get comfortable painting. So I think don't destroy your house like I did, but if you have things lying around that you want to paint, or like you mentioned, like having a friend, or if you own your house, painting things that just get you comfortable painting until you feel like, which you already have the skills, but getting comfortable painting is like number one, I think.
And I love that. And I think, it's so interesting because part of what we're talking about here is getting comfortable, right? Being comfortable enough to be like, I can do this for other people, right? And there's always going to be some discomfort in that. And as you get more experience, it'll become easier. But often it is pretty scary. And we're going to talk a little bit more about, the mindset and blocks as well during this workshop too, because that's something that comes up for a lot of people here. But I just want everyone here to see, like, this is not something that you need to now, spend years trying to get some experience on, particularly if you've got a foundation of other creative areas as well. This is something that you can learn and actually be getting paid projects quite quickly, right? And those of you here that are muralists and have already done murals, I'm sure you'll have your own stories and experiences as well around this. It's trying, giving things a go, maybe a personal project or a small project to actually build up your experience, get things that you can now share with others. I love what Jillian shared, which was like, hey, I've been through this on Instagram, and people are like, oh, you can do that. Now I'm sure Jillian, you were like, well, I kind of always could do that, but people need that proof, right? They need to like, oh, you can do that. And you're like, yeah, of course. Like, right, I'm a creative person, but people need to actually see the application of that. What we are going to talk about next is the business side, because I think this is really interesting. Is yes, we're talking about an incredible art form here, but we're also talking about creative business. Just before we dive into that, I would love everyone here to share their Instagram URL in the chat, because this is also a great way to get connected, yes, with myself, my team, Ari, Jillian as well, but also other people on the webinar. Please go grab your URL, like as in put a link in, drop that in the chat so everyone can do that. Jillian and Ari have just shared theirs. So let's say from my team, is also going to share the Flame Entrepreneur one as well. So go through, pop them in. I know everyone's furiously going to grab their link, go open it up, get your URL, and then just paste it in there. And then you can go through and click everyone else. This is about building a community as well. And one of the things we love about these workshops is it gets people connected, because having a creative community is incredibly important. Right, yes, building that camaraderie, but we even see people passing each other projects, supporting each other in lots of ways too. So amazing, and we'll make sure, I'll make sure, let's say from my team, make sure we get connected with you as well. I know we're already connected with some of the people here too, which is great. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. There we go. Keep firing them in the chat, those of you that are still trying to figure out how to do that. The business basics I'm going to talk about next, because a creative business, right? People forget about the business piece of the creative business, right? The creative piece is incredibly fun. You've got a foundation of creativity. It's really exciting. You've often got background experience, whether you're self-taught or you're studied. Right, that's the creative piece. But the business stuff, fundamentally for most people, is just less exciting. Right, just to be completely blunt about it, it's like creative business. Can we just do the creative part? We forget about the business part. We've got to remember that part of the equation. Right, and this is actually the reason why we work with a lot of people and help them to take those next steps forward, Ari and Jillian included, is actually to go, hey, like we've got to get this business side right as well. You do not need to be like a a tax professional, someone who knows, an absolute expert in marketing, but there are fundamentals and things that you are going to need to lean into to actually turn this into a thriving, sustainable business long term. Look, this is a hobby, a little bit of cash here and there. Of course, that's fine. That's a different thing. But ultimately, I think most people are here today because you're like, hey, I would love to grow or start, get moving in terms of you being a probably full-time creative. Those of you that are in day job, I'm sure there's something in your mind which is like, what if I could do this in a sustainable way full time? What if I could leave my day job in a safe, sustainable way and still, be safe, be paid properly, and actually often earn more than you are getting, underpaid for many people in their day job. So we've got to think about this business side, and we've got to acknowledge that it's hard and it's easy to ignore, but it is very, very important. So you must take the time to learn those essential skills. As I said, you don't need to be an expert, and you are going to learn a lot as you go and as you grow, but you do need to make sure you're investing time and effort in this side as well. So some of the key things that you will need to really lean into, I'm going to briefly share as well. But if you are wanting to break into murals, you're wanting to expand, well, you're going to have to figure out how to price your work. And this is like one of the biggest challenges that people have is actually, what do I charge? What do I charge for my work? Right. And this is a big subject. It's a big area as well. We've run whole workshops, even in our coaching, we run whole workshops on this subject here, because ultimately this is something that people struggle with. Most people undercharge for what they offer. Right. This is really important to recognize. Pricing is related to confidence as well. And it's part of why people often undercharge, especially when people are early stage. It's really easy to be like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to charge a really, really low rate. Well, what we've got to remember is that your creative skills, your expertise is there, and you have a foundation that you've built often over many, many years. And that's actually the expertise you're selling. Even if this is your first paid mural or your second project, that doesn't mean that you need to charge nothing or charge a really low amount. Yes, people do tend to charge a lower amount when they start off, but this is an area that you will really need to lean into and figure out as well. The other area that you will need to lean into is figuring out how to actually do the proposal and contract side. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as well, because, yes, you've got someone interested. They're like, oh, I saw on Instagram you, can do murals. Okay, great. Well, you now need to take them through a sales process where you share more about what the next steps look like. If you just email them and say, yeah, sure, I don't really know what to charge, but we could do it for this, well, they're going to be like, oh, this person doesn't know what they're doing. Right. So it's also an opportunity to be professional. As I said, we're going to dive more into that, but this is an area you will need to lean into what to say, how to put together a professional proposal. And once they say, yes, we want to work with you, okay, what are those next steps around things like a contract as well? The other thing you will need to lean into is the legalities and the insurance side. Does not sound exciting. Tax. Oh, we all do not even want to talk about that. But it is an important side in terms of, yes, your business setup. How's it going to look? How are you going to get paid? What does invoicing look like? What about things like insurance to protect yourself? Right? What if something goes wrong? So these are things, particularly as you get more serious about this, you just will need to look into. The other thing that we see is that the people who lean away from things like the legalities, the insurance, they subconsciously just hold themselves back, or consciously, right? We've literally heard people say like, oh, I don't want to get too big with what I'm doing creatively because I don't want to get in trouble or not pay tax or end up with a big tax bill and those things there. And so, well, if you do learn a bit and you get organized around those things, then it's not going to be an issue and you can grow your own creative business. Fear is a big thing that gets in the way of many people's journey, and it is just something that we need to address. Often it is about inexperience and lack of knowledge. There is lots of ways you can learn more, which is really, really important. The other thing, we'll briefly talk about this a little bit more too, but the other thing is really around like how to manage the project, right? How do right, we've got this mural project, but how do you organize when you're going to be doing the actual painting? What does this look like? If you do need to hire a scaffold, okay, well, how do you do that? How do you coordinate that? If this is a cafe, an operating cafe, how do you organize the hours with them in terms of when you will do that painting? When do you do the design versus the actual delivery painting side, right? So these are things, and it's really that project management side. Now, for many of you, I'm sure it's like, it's kind of overwhelming and scary. You get more experience the more that you do. And this is why starting small is good, because you're like, right, first of all, I'm just project managing myself in a small project in my own house that I have complete control over the timeline. right? When you involve other people, it gets more complex, of course, too. So, and then in terms of the other business side, a big, huge piece of the puzzle is, of course, the marketing stuff. We're going to lean into that more soon too, because ultimately the marketing is about getting you in front of the right people who are willing to pay you for what you do. This is the biggest problem that people have in pretty much all businesses, is not having enough of the right people who are willing to pay, right? Really, really important. And the biggest problem is because people don't know that you exist, right? So that's where marketing, it just is sharing. That's what it really is. Kind of the word marketing, I think we need to rebrand to like, it's sharing. It's what it is, right? If you're sharing on Instagram, well, you're actually marketing. Oh, marketing, I don't know about that. That sounds scary. It's like, well, no, like this is just really about connecting with people, letting people know that you exist, getting your amazing skills and expertise out there so that people can be like, oh, you know what? Like that looks really interesting. I'd love to work with this person. I wonder what they can do for my local business, my cafe, my restaurant, or all the other opportunities for muralists as well. Jillian, we'd love to hear some of your thoughts kind of around your experience learning and growing on this business side, because this is something you've really been leaning into over the last few years.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because I was definitely one of those people that was like, I don't want to think about any of that, and I just want to like paint, or draw something, but it really does change your whole mindset once you start to lean into the business things, like getting business insurance and like figuring out your taxes and that kind of stuff. Like that made me realize that I can be a professional creative, and it made me start to like treat this business like an actual profession. And I think that that goes a long way for yourself and like your own confidence in being a creative person, and also for like the presentation that you give to your client. Like they will really trust you. You have things in place, you have insurance, you have like things you can show them, like an actual proposal and quote, and like a timeline of like your actual completion of this project. Those kind of things, like that really levels you up with your client. Like they will trust you to take on their space and paint a mural if you have these things in place. So yeah, really important to lean into these things, even though they're not fun all the time.
I think, if I've just spoken to so many of our clients that we've worked with that, especially early on, and just like they say that, right? They're like, I just want to paint, I just want to create, I just want to draw. Right. Of course, absolutely. Like these are such natural things. And part of what I say is like, cool, great. To do the most painting, to do the most drawing, we're going to also have to spend some energy and time over here on this business stuff. It doesn't need to be all your time and energy suddenly. I think that's part of the fear, is like, what if the business stuff takes over the creative stuff? No, this is allowing you to do more of that rather than work in a day job, right? You're actually able to go, hey, you can actually be doing this full time, right? So I love Jillian's perspective on this, because I think, there's such a journey around this thing, and it's an ongoing journey. Jillian's still figuring things out. Ari's still figuring things out. There's still growth there in their journeys as well, right? This is part of it. We're going to dig into the marketing tips for a muralist, right? Because as I said, marketing is something that a lot of people struggle with, and it is extremely important, right? Is actually getting yourself out there, getting you in front of the right people. So the first thing I'm going to dive into around this is who the people are. Right, this is really, really important, because it's very easy to talk about, okay, we can post on Instagram, we can do outreach, we can do all these different things, but ultimately we need to first get clear on who are your clients. Right now, a pretty typical thing for people to say is like, anyone that's willing to pay me for a mural, of course, I would be willing to work with them. And it's like, yes, you might be. The problem is you won't attract those people because you won't seem like you are a fit for them. So this is really interesting. When you are actually figuring out how to market, you need to actually start with who to market to, right? Because there's so many ways to market, there's so many people out there, that's kind of overwhelming, but you actually want to focus your marketing efforts to attract the people that you're excited about working with, right? So getting clear on that. Like if you're a muralist or you're wanting to get into murals, okay, well, there's so many different niches out there, right? Do you want to be doing murals in cafes and restaurants? What about co-working spaces? What about like small businesses like a hairdresser, right? What about working with real estate agents? So you're creating murals for homes or for rentals or for Airbnbs, right? There is so many different opportunities. Private homeowners, right? Is it community organization? It's kind of an endless number of places you can actually do murals. And once again, the temptation is to be like, Logan, that all sounds great. I would literally work with any of those organizations. It's like, great, but they may not want to work with you if you just seem like you work with everyone. Because people are often looking for something quite specific. Also, when you start doing things like Instagram or outreach, you're going to be like, who do I even contact? That's kind of overwhelming. Have you seen anyone? Right? We need to make things more targeted. Now, the reality is that you figuring out things like your ideal client, your target market, it's going to take time and you're not going to get it right straight away. So part of it often is going, okay, well, who are three different groups of people? Okay, maybe cafes and restaurants, maybe co-working spaces, and maybe private individuals. Maybe they're my three kind of areas I want to focus in on. Great. You're going to learn as you go by actually doing some projects when you actually enjoy that. You might go, well, I don't really know if I would enjoy working with cafes and restaurants until you actually work with them. Right. Okay. You're going to get some experience by actually getting out there and doing it. So don't overthink the stuff. That's important as well. With murals, connecting with local businesses is often a really smart approach because local businesses or businesses in general, they're going to look at murals as a return on investment, right? So they're like, hey, if I go and spend $2,000 or $5,000 on this mural to liven up my space, there's going to be a return on investment, right? For cafes and restaurants, there's a lot of data out there that shows if you have a fantastic mural inside the cafe or inside, you're actually going to increase the number of people and then increase the number of the foot traffic. Right? You get more people coming to your cafe, you get people spending more, that's the return on investment. And often that can actually be quite measurable as well. Right. So this is where working with local businesses can be important as well. On that, just noticed my internet did a little blip there, so hopefully everyone caught most of that. But the key there is, can everyone hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me okay there. I think we are good. There we go. Internet from New Zealand is having a bit of a blip crossing the oceans right now. So there we go. So just really looking at the side of getting connected with those local businesses, you can literally drop in and talk to them. You can literally send an email. You could call them, identifying and going, hey, I want to work with cafes. Okay, great. What are the cafes in your area? Do they know that you exist? Right? That first piece of marketing, let them know that you exist. Hey, I'm a muralist. Here's what I do. Here's an example of some of my work. Right? You're now on their radar. Right? It's kind of scary. It is scary. Many people struggle with that, but part of it is letting them know. They do not know that you exist until you tell them. Right? Most of these people are not going on to Google and typing in local muralists. Some of them are, sure. Most of them are going to work with someone that's actually connected with them. They've come to them as well. So, that's something to be really clear around is that with murals, because it's a physical thing, you can physically go and talk to people. Amazing, right? For most people here, I'm sure that's pretty terrifying. Cold email outreach can also work. And this is something that we do work with many of our clients on as well, is actually going, hey, like, let's get you actually connecting with your ideal client by emailing them, right? That's really powerful. And I kind of think, someone think, oh, cold email, is that like the spam thing that we all get in our inbox occasionally? Right? People, the classic one for my business, for my coaching business is like people trying to sell me like SEO type packages and things. Right? Very non-personal. We're talking about you connecting with someone in a personal way with your amazing art forms and your amazing artwork, saying, hey, just to let you know, I exist. Here's what I do. Do you have any projects? Would you be interested in exploring this? Right? Amazing. So cold email outreach does work. Connecting with people does work as well in person. The other thing that we do really recommend is that you connect with other fellow artists, right? Just like this here, we're doing this today, right? Getting connected with Ari, getting connected with Jillian, getting connected with the other people that are here live. We see all the time that people pass each other projects, people get involved in other people's projects. Hey, I've got this big mural project. Can you come along and paint and actually help me physically paint? And I can pay you for that, right? So there's opportunities when you connect with other people. We see again and again, people say, I'm on a big project right now. I don't have time to do another mural, but they're going to pass that. They can't do it maybe to someone in their network that they know, like, and trust themselves. So being a part of that creative network is important. We also see people just referring each other or finding something online and being like, oh, this is happening here, but I can't do that. Murals are also quite a local thing. Yes, you might have the ability to travel. Fantastic, that's great. But you might be like, well, I live in Connecticut, but there's this project on the other side of the country that I'm connected with. Someone's reached out to me. Okay, well, you might be able to pass it to someone who's based in San Francisco, right? So those connections are really, really important. And this is the stuff that we see. This is not like, oh, this possibly could happen. It's like, no, these are the sorts of things that do work. Cold outreach, connecting with people in person, connecting with other artists and building up that capacity to refer each other work as well. It's such a big subject. Marketing is obviously a really powerful part of this journey as well. Ari, would love to hear some of your kind of thoughts and experiences around that marketing side as well.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts. My job prior that I did for a long time was ironically marketing, and talking about another business is so easy. Like pointing out the things that someone should be focusing on somebody else's business is so easy for me, but when it's about doing it for myself, it's hard. I really dislike talking about myself, so that was something I had to overcome. And over time, learning to just like make friends in town. And then my friends had friends that own businesses, and that was super helpful. But you mentioned something about making connections with other artists. I've seen plenty of artists in my area, in the Nashville area, who need an assistant, and like they'll have you join them on a job, and that's a great way to get experience as well. And they are not looking for someone who's done a lot of work. They just want someone to help them paint. And once you are on the job and you've seen someone else paint, it makes it a lot less scary as well. um so, and cold outreach, you mentioned that as well. I firmly believe that all of 2024 was like a rolling ball that started with a cold email that I sent at the end of 2023. So it only really, it takes just one hit for you to be able to make the progress that you need. And yeah, I think marketing is made more complicated than it really is. It's a way to just be confident in what you do and to prove your skills and your value.
I love that. I think, so powerful once again, just to hear the real stuff here. We're getting the real stuff from Jillian, from Ari here of like, what are the experiences? What have you been through? What's really got in your way as well? And confidence is part of that, right? Building that confidence and actually going like sending the cold email. We can all do that, but confidence can get in the way, or fear can get in the way, and those things there. And as we can see here, Ari did this, right? Leaned in and actually created amazing opportunities. There was a feed through effect of that rolling effect there as well, the snowball effect. Amazing. I love that. Let's keep rolling through. We've got lots to cover, and I do want to cover a couple of questions that were sent in as well. The next one we're going to talk about is what we call pitching like a pro, right? This is really about sending a great proposal. So let's say, great, someone's shown interest. They've gone, oh, this is really interesting what you do. I'd be kind of curious to learn more. Whether you've contacted them through cold email or connected with them in person or been referred, they've now basically said, what is your, they've said, I have a budget. I want to work with you. And you go, great, next steps. The next steps are firstly to learn a bit more about what they need, get clear on that. That could be through a phone call. That could be through a meeting in person. It could be through an email exchange where you learn more. But then you're going to have to put together a proposal. Now, if you have a proposal that is effectively a PDF you're going to attach to their email when you've shown interest and they want to take the next steps, that proposal is going to bring your level of professionalism through the roof. They are going to be willing to say yes, more likely to say yes, and willing to spend more if you showcase yourself as a professional through a proposal. This is really, really important. So I kind of think about a proposal as like a mini test of what it's going to be like to work with you. And it's an opportunity to showcase your professionalism, showcase your creativity as well. Right. So if you just send them a quote on an email and it's all written out and say, this is what it's going to cost and all that, okay, like you can book projects that way. Right. Absolutely. That's a very easy way. Maybe if you've been started, you might start with that. That's fine. But if you can actually have a proposal, like an attached document where you're like, please see the attached document. And it's a proposal which includes things like who you are, a bit of information about, your previous projects, your experience, and obviously what's involved in this project. Maybe there's a timeline on it. Maybe there's information about what you're going to be covering. Maybe there's even some mock-ups of the project, right? If you can build out a fleshed out proposal, and often it is a template, by the way, you do it once, and then that's your template for the next project, you are going to come across so much more professionally. Of course, this includes things like pricing, right? Here's what I can do. Here's what I would charge. And that may include some different pricing options as well, depending on what scale they want or how many murals they want. But this is a really important opportunity to actually showcase yourself, right? We've got to remember that. As I said, don't get too stuck. We often see people might start off with something more basic, that's okay. But if you can expand to have a more in-depth proposal, often they have color, by the way. These are not bland, boring documents. These are documents that you get to design as well. So I think, there's so much in this. Jillian, would love to hear some of your kind of thoughts around proposals and experiences there, maybe a couple of tips of what you do.
Yeah, I think that that was like really a game changer for me. It wasn't something that I was doing before the coaching program, and now that I do it, it feels like a huge turn in my business. I think like one really important thing about a proposal is that it really does set up expectations with you and your client. Like you can put your timeline, you can put your process in there. Like I have for my mural proposals, a whole page that's like, we'll start off with our call, we'll do a sketch phase, refine the sketch phase, like that, so that they know exactly what it means to be working with you, and just to set up those expectations right away so that they don't have questions and they really do trust you with this process. I think that's super important. Yeah, and I would say like just download a template. Like I downloaded templates for proposals from Chutzpah Design. It doesn't need to be anything as fancy as that. They're like very, design heavy, obviously. But yeah, just having that template that I can just input my own pictures into and logo, and then for every project you can just kind of change out pictures depending on like the vibe of your uh, project and the client. And then you put in your quote, and you can do like tiered pricing if you need to give them some options. Have a template, and your life will be forever changed.
It's huge. And I think I just love what Jillian said here, which is like this was quite game changer here. Jillian was actually getting more yeses and able to charge more and built more confidence to charge more, because you're like, oh wow, like I am a business owner, I'm a professional, this is what I'm doing here. Like you just feel more confident when you put things in place like this in your business as well. Once again, you don't need to overcomplicate it. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can get a template, right? There's lots you can do here to actually get started. Once again, you may just start off simple without this and you do things right. That's okay if that's what it takes to get that first project. But as you grow and you want to charge more and take this all more seriously, things like proposals are going to be really important. We are going to talk about mindset next. This is an incredibly important subject. And, I really think about mindset and confidence as being like foundational for everything. Yes, for you actually doing your creative work, but also for you marketing yourself. We've heard about, marketing is scary and hard, and you need to build up confidence to do these things. Confidence and mindset is like a pillar that is connected with every single part of your business. So we need to make sure that you are dealing with the mindset side of this journey as well. It's a big part of how we also work with people. Yes, there's a lot of the structural business elements and how to do this and what to do here, but a big part of it's also going to be to build up confidence and mindset and work through stuff. There's a lot of inner work that often has to be done, right? And this is going to have impact on, yes, you professionally, but you personally as well, right? So a big thing that can come up for people is confidence when it comes to mindset. That's something that you've got to work on. Sometimes people believe, oh, that person over there, they're just naturally confident. Well, yes, some people may have some more natural confidence than others, but confidence is something that you can develop, work on, get better at as well, right? But it's something that we do need to be aware it can get in the way of the journey, right? We've seen people who have amazing creative skills. They've actually got some of the business stuff already down packed, but there's a lot of confidence challenges. There's a lot of imposter syndrome, comparison with other people, a lot of fear can come up. What if, right? What if I do this? Or what if I fail here? Or what if I get something wrong? Right? And that stops them from even taking those steps to grow this beautiful business that they do have the ability to do as well. Right? That is really, really important. We've got to address this side. We've got to watch out for things like that comparison with others. Right? This is very normal. We all do it. We all compare ourselves with our family, our friends, other people on the internet, right? We've got to be aware that that's something that can get in the way. And Instagram, we go on Instagram right now. I'm sure you're all following like hundreds, if not thousands of people that you look at and go, look at how incredible their lives are and what they're doing in their art form. And we kind of judge ourselves in terms of where we're at. Maybe I'm not as good or good enough compared to that person. We do not get the behind the scenes of people's Instagram. Some people do share a bit more and they open up and it's great. But actually, everyone's trying to figure things out. Everyone's trying to grow. Everyone struggles with stuff like imposter syndrome, working on their confidence and things like that as well. So we've got to be aware these are very normal human attributes that we work with. Comparison, right? Self-talk, they're very normal, but we are going to have to work through them, right? So we've often got that voice of going, oh, well, that's really cool that Ari and Jillian are growing their businesses and having great successes in these areas. I could never do them. Right? That self-talk there is the thing that's going to stop you from doing it. It's not actually the reality that you can't do it. It's the self-talk that's saying you can't do it. Because as we've heard today, you can lean in, you can try things, you can paint some cabinetry, right? You can get a panel of wood, and you can get some more experience in this. You can talk to a local organization and give it a go. Right. So we need to actually be aware that even when you have that voice going, I could never do that, you need to be another voice. It doesn't matter whose voice it is. My voice, Jillian's voice, Ari's voice, someone's voice who's like, maybe you could. What if you could? Because you actually can. Right. We need to be aware that you're going to have to work on your mindset and your confidence probably just as much as you're going to have to work on all the other elements, like building up your creative skills, like working on how to figure out the marketing. You're going to also have to work on the confidence side, work on the mindset side. And that's not always going to be very comfortable. Pretty much every client that we work with experiences some form of fear and resistance as we work with them, as they grow, right? They have moments where they're like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to go back to, do some studies for a couple of years to be good enough. Right? People who are self-taught deal with that imposter syndrome even more because they're like, well, I don't have like a professional background in this. But there's lots of opportunities for people to be self-taught, professionally taught. Absolutely. But we need to be aware it's the self-talk, it's the confidence, it's that imposter syndrome that can get in the way. And I'm sure pretty much everyone here deals with imposter syndrome at some level of comparison. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this yet. The normal, the natural thing that can come up as well. That is something that you do need to work on as well. So make sure you are working on those business skills as well as the mindset development and those pieces there. It's an ongoing journey and never ends. I've been in business for like a long time now. I think over 15 years. I've had various businesses. It comes up for me as well, right? These things are things I need to work on at multiple levels too. Ari, I'd love to hear some of your kind of thoughts and experiences around this mindset journey you've been on as well.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head in several points when you were talking. I think something that I struggled with, and I still struggle with, is earlier in my journey, it was like I had a hard time seeing myself as an artist because I wasn't making enough money doing it, or I wasn't doing it consistently, or the work that I was making didn't feel authentic to what I really wanted to be putting out there. And that was something we really had to work on a lot in coaching. But you're still an artist even if you're not getting paid because you're making art. And I think that was something I really had to work on. But then it started to evolve, and then I was like comfortable seeing myself as an artist, but I was uncomfortable with living like both of my lives. Like I think people who didn't see me as an artist, I didn't want to tell them that I was an artist. And like I had to really work through what deep-seated things were happening to where I didn't want to be visible as an artist. So I think that mindset and that imposter syndrome, it all plays into all of this, and really learning how to be more confident on the back end so that you know how to show up on the front end and be authentic and how you're showing up in your business and for yourself as well.
I love that. And I think, what you said there of like showing up for yourself is such an important part of it, because how you show up for yourself is how you're going to show up for others. Right. And, this, one of my big drivers in terms of the work that we do, one of the things I love is that, yes, we're helping people to grow their business and build their dream business, but we're also helping people personally as well. Like this is a personal and professional journey that you go on when you work to grow a business. A business is a self-growth engine. Right? Most of you that have worked with us, Jillian, Ari, some of the others on the call today as well, know that is that we're not just talking about being better at business. Well, that's kind of part of it. It's inherently also growing, building confidence. Like we've seen people work on their confidence, work on their mindset that has an impact on their relationships in their lives, right? Their personal relationships. And this is that journey as well. And one of the reasons I love having my own businesses and helping other people grow their own businesses too is the self-growth journey that they're on as well, the potential they get to realize, the growth they get to experience as well, which can also be painful and challenging and hard at times as well. Let's make sure we recognize that element too. Hey, we are going to jump into some Q&A now. We were sent quite a few questions in beforehand, so we're going to see if we can address some of those questions. As I mentioned right at the start, I would love to get connected with a whole bunch of you here. So I'm going to share that link again. There's like 4 questions on this. If you can fill it in. If you are watching the recording, we'll have a whole lot of people watching that too. Please make sure you just click the link in the email we'll send out as well. Please fill this in. Try and do it today if you can, or in the next couple of days. This here is a great opportunity to get connected with myself, with Paul, and as I said, we'll be giving out a whole bunch of freebie calls as well. This is going to really help you to really connect some of the things that you've learned today as well. Because honestly, we've covered like a ton of stuff today. We know that we move quite fast in these workshops, but let's make sure we get some good conversations there with myself and with Paul Corgan from my team as well. Amazing. So there's that link. Look, we were sending a few questions, so I'm going to sort of direct this first one to Jillian. So the question that was sent in was how to organize client work with multiple projects at once. I know you've had a lot of experience with this. It's challenging, absolutely, but I'd love to kind of hear, how do you get things organized when you do have multiple things happening, multiple projects?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely very complicated, and it will kind of depend on like the kind of work that you are doing. I think for mural work, it's a little easier because you can schedule like things out ahead of time. Like, oh, I can only take on like 4 projects this month in terms of painting, and like I know exactly how much time things are going to take me. Gets a little more complicated if it's like a smaller like rush project type of thing. But for me, I use Notion to like do all of my project management. And I think one thing that's really helpful is like the time management like matrix, like to prioritize things based on like urgency, and then like schedule for later, that kind of thing, like just time blocking and yeah, like using the time management matrix in terms of delegating tasks that you need to get done now and prioritizing things by like your A, B, C, D list. That's super helpful for me. I don't know. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, and I think that this is something that a lot of people do struggle with. And what Jillian's really brought up here is like the organizational side. You're going to have to get good at getting organized and figuring out systems like the time management matrix and kind of figure out how to prioritize things as well. This is going to be part of it. Right now, keep in mind the fear of having multiple projects can be pretty scary and it can stop you having one project. So there's a lot of figuring out you can do as you go as well. Right? It's not a disaster to have 2 back-to-back projects or 2 projects at the same time because you will make it work. You'll figure it out and you'll start applying these techniques that Jillian's talking about as well. But I wouldn't overthink it because often you can kind of try and organize projects at separate timing. But as you grow and you get further along, like Jillian is, yes, you're going to have overlapping projects as well. I just think we can probably maybe address that question there, Ari, live here. So if you don't mind, I'll ask it to you. So Jenna's asked how to find an assistant to help or offer my painting as an assistant. Ari, let's be you answering that one there live while we're on here.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys follow Simone Wilder. She's incredible, but she just posted in her stories like I'm looking for someone to help me paint. And so she just was looking for anyone to help her paint. But specifically for you, I think I had a friend who's actually in here right now who came and helped me on a job when I went to Louisville to paint something. And she doesn't paint murals. And so when I felt more comfortable being able to give somebody else directions on how to paint, she just helped me because it was a large surface. So I hope that answers your question in terms of like when you feel comfortable asking someone, but I just asked a friend, anybody, but you can also put it out on your social media if you wanted to ask somebody more specifically or DM people. But then making connections with other artists and just being visible is another way to just follow them and you can see their stories, and when they're asking for assistance, you can just be there.
I love that because it's like it's this network that you're building, right? It's this network of other people, and I sometimes hear people with their frustration and be like, oh yes, I've grown this Instagram following, I've got like a 1,000 followers, that's great, but like most of them are other fellow creators, and I love that community, that's great, but like how's that going to grow my business? They're not the clients I'm looking for. Well, yes, it's nice when you do have ideal clients, potential clients following you and you following them, but also let's recognize there is power, and this is part of the marketing kind of approach is getting connected with other artists and creatives so that you could work with them on projects like this, right? They might put something in stories, or as Ari mentioned, you could just reach out to other people. There's nothing to stop you right now after this call, sending a message to a bunch of muralists saying, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm also a local muralist. I'm early stage, or I'm at the stage here. If you do even need someone to help paint, that would be awesome. Just to let here's me, right? Because once again, it's getting other people to know you exist. And they might be like, wow, that's what I really need right now, right? My goodness, I've been stressing out because I have this project, right? Actually being upfront and messaging people and just showing the openness can be really powerful as well, because they're not always just going to think of you, even if they've seen your work as well, right? So this is how the creative community works. And often it is getting outside that comfort zone, sending a message, right? We're not even talking about him to like pick up a phone and talk to them in person. That often terrifies these days, I think. This is just sending them a message, sending them a DM, right? These are things that you can absolutely do and get connected. And this is that creative community. This is that network effect. And it's ultimately a type of marketing as well, right? Really, really important. I'm going to address another question that we did get sent in before, which we've kind of covered quite a bit of, but I kind of wanted to share a bit more around. It was basically how to choose the places or the organizations or brands to actually pitch to, right? To actually connect with. And, I shared a bit around getting clear around the target market piece. People find this quite overwhelming when they haven't really done it before, but you do need to get really clear on what that is, who they are, so that you can then connect with people, right? Really, really important. So as I said, you could go cafes, restaurants, whatever that looks like, make a list, right? If you say, well, okay, I could work with cafes and restaurants, start making lists of maybe local cafes and actually start contacting them. You might be like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like working with cafes. Let's get you one under your belt. Let's get you one experience so that you'll learn what it's going to be like. So don't overthink it. Actually go, who would I potentially be interested in working with? Start to notice, where do you see murals? Oh, that's really interesting. That was a mural inside someone's home. Is that something that would be interesting for you? Oh, I went to a local hairdresser or a barber or something, and I noticed a mural on the side of the building. Okay, like, would that be interesting for you? Right? Look at the curiosity. Don't go, well, is that what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is that I figured out my target market? No, just start with that and see how that feels and get some experiences as well. So it is important to kind of niche down, get more specific, start contacting to get that experience. Amazing. We are going to be wrapping up soon. I would love everyone here to share in the chat a takeaway from today. I know we've fired through a million things when it comes into breaking into murals. We'd love everyone to share a takeaway, a learning, something they found interesting. Just pop that into the chat. Pop that in the chat so we can really see what resonated with you. And this is going to be a nice way for you to condense these learnings, for other people to remember what we covered today as well. As I said, we covered a lot, but pop something in the chat. If everyone here live can just share a sentence or two. What is something that you learned, found fascinating, found interesting? And ultimately, this is really about going, hey, like, how do you break into this amazing industry or expand with it? I know we've got multiple people who are muralists here who are going, how do I grow things? And maybe it's marketing that you really do need to lean into as well. Absolutely fantastic. It's been so great to have you here. We would also love to connect with lots of people too. We've got those freebie calls as well. Look, if you're curious about how we might be able to help, feel free to just fill in that form and mention that to myself or Paul as well. And we can always take you through what those details could look like as well. Or just, email us, get in contact. Just looking through the chat here, there's lots of things are being shared. I'm going to read a couple out just before we wrap up as well, which is good. Thoughts and mention down. We won't be able to address that question today, but Sophia sharing, working on mindset and business organization can be simultaneous and get comfortable. Painting, yes, I love that. Absolutely. You can work on these things together for sure. Notion's a good project management app, painting on things beyond a wall, like your dresser. I love that the dresser, the cabinet example. Starting off small, know your ideal clients, keep networking with other artists, take the leap and sharpen your skills. Ashley, I love it. Work alongside amazing artists to learn as you go. Hey, doing murals with Ari, I love that. It's great to hear more about reaching out to potential clients, Laura. Nice. Fantastic. Create a network of other artists as well. So many good things being shared here. Grateful for honesty about the struggles early on, for sure as well. Lots of things popping out of the chat. Please keep sharing in the chat here as well. We are going to wrap up for today. It's been lovely connecting with everyone. I know we've covered a lot of things. Jillian, thank you. Thank you, Ari. This has been lovely, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been
Absolutely.
really good. We covered so much.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you all. And thank you all the lovely comments in the chat as well. We're going to wrap up there. Have a lovely rest of everyone's afternoon, evening, morning here in New Zealand. I'm going to go have another coffee, but let's all connect soon. Have a lovely rest of your day, team. Talk soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.